Yes, master.
Top 5 positive status effects. It's a little bit different. Normally we go through characters, but we have a lot of effects now in the game, more so than we've ever had in the past. And some specific to certain characters, some just general buffs that people can give to anybody or receive from anybody. And we're going to take a look at those here. But our number 5 status effect is Speed Up. So why do we go with number 5 as the as the 5th best status effect in the game?
Well, I mean, this game, apart from the recent EP lead meta, this game has always been about speed. Who goes first? If you go first, you increase your chances by winning. Just speed wins in this game, whether you want to admit it or not. Mods win. It's all about the speed of your characters, and Speed Up gives you 25% additional speed. The end. I mean, it gives you more speed. There really isn't that many instances of it in the game. Like special forces, TIE pilots, like Veers has Speed Up.
I remember early in the game, Poggle used to give
Poggle.
Speed Up.
Yes. Poggle's one.
And that was cool. And yes, it's kind of an underused buff, kind of like I'd say a sleeper. One that doesn't get used enough. I feel like could be more more used in the game for sure. I'd like to see more characters give Speed Up.
If we get a couple meta characters or like a future character to come out and deliver Speed Up, like an AoE Speed Up to your team, then this would probably be much higher than 5. Just 9 times out of 10, the only time you see Speed Up is when Thrawn counters and hits you with his basic and puts Speed Up on you for 1 turn.
What I'd really like to see is a character that can choose or select another ally that gets Speed Up, right? Because that would be pretty awesome. Like if you could target an ally and give them Speed Up, you could kind of manipulate that by putting the right character in that spot. And let's say it's like you're like a character that's already super fast, you can make them faster. Or if it was a character that kind of like had an advantage at the beginning of the match, like let's say maybe Han Solo, like how he gets to shoot first. Maybe this character goes first and he can give Speed Up to any ally on the board, right? So it's like the first thing he can do is only give Speed Up to somebody, right?
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool because, again, that would, I think, change the way the battle starts a little bit. But maybe I'm nuts. Anyway, our number 5 positive status effect in the game is Speed Up. Moving along to number 4. The number 4 positive status effect in the game is
Stealth.
And why do we have stealth here?
Well, I mean, stealth for the obvious reason. A lot of reasons. Stealth, you can't be targeted. But the cool thing about stealth is if you target an enemy that has counter, they can't counter you. If it avoids so much. It's a great ability, and there's lots of it. R2 has been a meta character for ever since he was released because he just AoE stealths the whole team. Just makes it real difficult, just annoying. Yes, it can be dispelled. There are multiple AoE all of these buffs can be dispelled, right? But it just keeps you hidden, keeps you protected, and especially a case like Geonosian Spy, Sith Assassin. These are really squishy characters that the only reason they're even usable is because they have a stealth mechanic to add to their survivability. It's great. These JTR teams, they wouldn't be nearly as difficult. They wouldn't be very difficult without it, without the R2s on there stealthing everybody. So basically, especially in R2's case, it gives you like a passive taunt almost. Everyone's stealth except whoever you target. So there's just a lot of benefits to it.
Well, stealth can be utilized as almost a pseudo taunt.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, if you have a character like R2-D2, you're basically selecting who's going to be taunting for the next few turns. So, whoever you pick is going to be the one character that's going to be able to be targeted. So you're basically selecting, like I said, basically a taunt for the next couple turns, and um, because the stealth mechanic can be dispelled, there's obviously some weakness there. But I mean, again, any positive status effect can be dispelled. Any negative status effect can be dispelled. So I mean, again, it's one of those things where uh, a mechanic like this is great because it protects certain characters. Obviously, Hermit Yoda, stays stealthed. Night Sister Acolyte can stay stealth, and that can kind of protect her, especially if it's only her and Night Sister Zombie there at the end of a battle. You can basically sustain and sometimes make a comeback win just because of the stealth mechanic that kind of holds you in place there with that taunt. So it's a very strong mechanic, and again, when used correctly, in circumstances like with R2D2, for example, it can be a great opportunity to kind of protect all the different characters of your team, because you can strategically stealth with one character, and then when the turn comes back, you can stealth another, and they'll never get a chance to really put full damage on any single character and take them out all the way. So very cool. And if you know that, let's say for example, Darth Nihilus has an Annihilate coming up pretty soon, you can use that mechanic to pick the character that you want to be taken out. So if they can, let's say, take out your Rey Jedi Training or somebody like that, you can force them to take out your General Kenobi or somebody that you don't mind losing, for example. So again, that's our number 4 positive status effect in the game. Our number 3 positive status effect in the game is critical damage up. Critical damage up adds 50% critical hit damage to your ally or to yourself, whichever character has it. But obviously, critical damage is a huge part of this game. Ever since crit damage mods were introduced, when mods first came out, and we all sought like crazy to get that Jawa challenge done, so we could get critical damage mods. Critical damage up adds even more critical damage to your character, and if you've jacked up that character with critical damage primary, and then used a set of critical damage mods, and then put critical damage up on them, that is what, Maurice? I mean, that's that can bring them to
266 if they got crit damage up. 266 crit damage. That's insane.
Right.
And then that's not any, and that's discounting any maybe leadership bonuses or passive bonuses they have from teammates. I mean, you can really jack up crit damage nowadays with some of these combos, and there aren't very many characters that do this. I think the Rey Jedi Training team utilizes it a lot. Like, I think a lot of people take it for granted. You take crit damage off Jedi Training Rey, and she's not hitting nearly as hard as you're used to. Like, it's a great, just pumps out the damage.
Right. And yeah, I mean, if you put that behind, like, let's say a Boba Fett lead, with an additional 50% crit damage, I mean, you can really, really get a lot of high damage attacks, and you're going to want to increase that critical chance so that you get more critical damaged attacks, right? So you get more opportunities to get crits or critical hits. So yeah, overall, crit damage up is a huge bonus to a Rey Jedi Training team, and can change the tide of the battle, and that's why it's great to have this buff, especially with BB-8, and that's what you get it with, right? With Illuminated Destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, and then Rey gives it to herself.
Right. So our number 3 positive status effect is critical damage up. Moving along to number 2. What do we have here, Maurice?
Oh, we got offense up. Very similar to crit damage up. The only reason it's ahead of crit damage up is that you don't have to crit for it to take effect. It just increases your damage. A lot of characters give this now, and we see it with these Chex Mix teams. people are using Pal, people are using Anakin, Qui-Gon Jinn, whoever the case may be, to give their Hans the offense up before they go into the a standalone, and you get the offense up on Han and just hitting for 100K plus on his basic attack, and that's incredible. Just pumps up. What I believe is 25% damage, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, 25%.
Sorry, 50% damage.
50% damage. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of damage. And especially like a character like Leia, if she's stealth when she's already in stealth, I mean, she gives herself all of these buffs that we're talking about. If she's already in stealth and she triggers the stealth again, she gets offense up, and you can just see the numbers. I mean, those of us that played a while, we ran the clones in P4. A lot of people are running like a Leia Akbar team in P2 of the raid. And you can see that it's noticeable. She goes from 10K, 10K, 10K to getting offense up and crit damage up, and all of a sudden it's like 14K, 15K, 16K. It's just, it's big time. It's big damage.
Absolutely. And another reason it's number 2 and ahead of critical damage up is because it's just a lot more abundant. I mean, offense up you can get from several places, where crit damage up is kind of more of a scarce, a little bit more of a rare buff. Offense up, can be granted from several different characters, and it's a tremendous advantage that can kind of change the tide of the battle. If you have it at the right time. This game relies heavily on strategy and making sure that even at the end, even if you're kind of let's say losing the battle at the moment, that you have a good plan or a good strategy going in, that you can still set yourself up there for, let's say, a good run of attacks at the end with offense up that can change the tide. And I mean, offense up is something that is a status effect that's been in the game since the beginning. I mean, when you're talking about 50% damage increase, I mean, that's a tremendous amount of damage. So, obviously, offense up is a huge benefit. Gives you a huge benefit in the battle, and again, it can be something that really puts you ahead of your opponent when you get it at the right time. So, again, when you're sitting there theory crafting your squads out there, and you're trying to put together a team for territory wars, for arena. You want to theory craft, when and if they're going to get these kinds of buffs, and if you do it correctly. I mean, if you can go back to the beginning of a game, when Royal Guard first got his passive taunt, and there had to be a strategy built around that. So you have to just know when these mechanics are available to you based on the characters that you have, and use them correctly. And offense up is definitely one that you can get from a lot of different places. So. But that's our number 2 positive status effect. Moving on to our number 1 positive status effect, and that is
Evasion up.
Tenacity up. Yes, and this is a tremendous buff. I mean, obviously, Rex is the king of Tenacity Up, and dispelling your negative status effects. Tenacity Up can protect you from all your negative status effects, and negative status effects can be very bad for you and can kind of ruin your entire team and any strategy that you have, and block you from really doing anything. So having Tenacity Up, especially at the beginning of an encounter, can give you the best advantage to start the battle. So it adds 99.99999% tenacity. So, I mean, basically, there's still a small chance that something could happen, but it's very small. Basically, it's not going to happen.
That is correct, yeah. Well, just we're in the midst of a debuff heavy meta, and I mean, people have been riding the Rex wave, not only for the past meta or so, but just in general since it's released, because of this lone move. Chirrut, Rex, Zeb. Certain characters give Tenacity Up just randomly. I believe, the Ewoks have some Tenacity Up synergies. One of these scoundrels may give the Tenacity Up. I think it might be L3. I'd have to look, but there's a few characters that do it, and they're instantly I mean, their grade, their like tier level, if you will, is instantly increased because they just have Tenacity Up in their kit.
Yep, absolutely. And you can already see some people talking about it in the chat. The honorable mention is Foresight. Yes, it's Foresight. And that gives you a 99.99999% chance to dodge attacks. And unless you're Darth Vader. And you can go right through Foresight. Or General Grievous, who can hit you with his basic attack through Foresight. This buff can protect your allies. And when you're talking about somebody like Rey Jedi Training, who just constantly has Foresight, when you're talking about somebody like Yoda, who can gain Foresight on a basic attack, give Foresight to his allies, this buff here can really protect your team, and it's a buff that wasn't here at the beginning of the game. It kind of came with Yoda, I believe. That came with the Grandmaster Yoda, right?
That's a while ago. I can't remember. I know some older characters do have the mechanic, but it might have been added later. I don't know for sure. But
I think Grandmaster Yoda brought Foresight into the game. Yes, it was Grandmaster Yoda that brought Foresight into the game. Yeah.
Okay, so if that's so that's that, and the only reason this ability isn't higher is because it's almost like the devs are like, ooh, I think we overdid it with Foresight a little bit. Let's make a bunch of characters that can't be evaded. So it 3 months ago I believe this would have been in the top 3 or 4 probably, but now it's just so many characters can get around it, and even if the character's stunned, the Foresight doesn't work anymore like it used to. But it's a great ability. It adds to survivability. We mentioned Sith Assassin earlier. The Finn leads to some extent work off Foresight capabilities. The Jedi Training Rey, the Jedi Qui-Gon, like you mentioned, they all focus. Even the new Hermit Yoda, they all have some sort of Foresight mechanic. And it basically just gets you. If you can't get hit, you can't get hurt, and if you time it properly, you can really dodge some really really big attacks. Because you've timed your team properly and put Foresight up at the appropriate time. So we see it every day in Arena. Every day. You're going to face one team with Foresight on your climb, no matter what. So
it's a great buff. And and Foresight has a Foresight came out with Hermit Yoda. I'm sorry, not Hermit Yoda, with Grandmaster Yoda. But what I was thinking of when I was thinking about Foresight was Fortitude, and that was something that they were originally going to call Protection, if you remember. Like before Protection was called Protection, when they were thinking about adding Protection, they were going to call it Fortitude. So I just remembered that because of the Foresight that we're talking about here. But
I'm kind of glad they went with Protection.
Right. But that's where they were thinking about calling it at first. Yeah, but anyway, that's our top 5 positive status effects, courtesy of the Alliance, good old Maurice. And next week we're going to be doing top 5 negative status effects. Yes.
Yes, master.